So we also want to show you some of the cool applications of using secondaries. So let's just get into that and see what we can do. For example, the curves, I think the custom curves are really a very powerful way to get in and to get some looks and to fix some stuff in very graphical, intuitive ways that you can't do anywhere else.
Well, one of the things with the curves, you can, as you reshape the gamma curve, you put some heaviness in some deeper areas or light in some other areas, and we can actually warm it up like you were saying. So let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to put a little bit of an S-curve into this, kind of build up the contrast on the lower end. And as I'm doing this, you might want to tell them, Steve, what we're doing as I'm going.
Yep, just dropping in a highlight point and a shadow point and kind of spreading out the contrast
making that big laser beam pop through a bit. Yep. Now we can come back. Now I did that by having the gain custom curves not checked.
Yep.
Because I want to select these on my own individually. So I'm going to warm it up. I'm going to bring the red curve up. I'm going to pull the blue curve down to get me more of a golden feel. Now from there, if I want to maybe just slide a little bit of green in there to help take it a little bit more on that yellower side.
Sure.
So basically what we've done right here, just with the curves, we've gone from there to that area. And I'll always use a before and after just to see and refresh yourself where you were and what you've done to it. Now this, we're doing it with the curves, but this can also be done inside the power window as well as outside of the power window independently as well.
Got it. And not only that, but we can also mix the curves, right? There's the mix bar at the bottom of the curve. So show us a little bit.
So let me just come down over here on this, and I'm just going to slide this back, and this is going to give you a little bit more.
It's blending that original color correction back in with what we did with what we had.
Okay, now that's one way to do it. I'm going to reset just this luminance curve, okay? Now we know that this is the blacks and it goes up, right? And I'm going to take the blacks up to the top and bring the whites down to the bottom, and that takes us inverted, okay? But now if I come here and I take the same bar, okay, look at some of the different feel you get out of that.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Okay, it gives you a softness. It's just another tool to reach into another look. And that's just one of the things. Of course, we can, vary that if we wanted. Vary the amount based upon the gamma curve.
Very cool.
So it's a pretty cool tool.
Some of the color science you're going to need to remember to use these curves is what is the opposite of any given color channel, right? You've got the opposite of red, the opposite of blue. For example, when you were pulling blue down, it was making the image more yellow. Right. And that's a very common combination of colors. The less blue, the more yellow you have. The less green, the more purple or magenta that you have. So those are all kind of some of the color science that you need to remember. And one of the ways to remember that is with a vector scope. It's always the opposite of the color in a vector scope is always on the other side of the vector scope. So when you look at the vector scope, you see that the opposite of blue is yellow, and the opposite of red is cyan, and the opposite of green is magenta. So those are all great ways to kind of remember the color science if you can't remember it, right? I'm always kind of, oh man, what's the opposite of red? I can't quite remember. You can just look at it on the vector scope, and also you can remember the combination of colors. So if you're trying to remember, oh man, I want to add yellow, but I don't have a yellow slider, what do? How do I add yellow? Yellow is the combination of red and green. So because it's in between the red and green primaries on the vector scope, just like the combination of green and blue is cyan, and the combination of blue and red is magenta. So that's just a little bit of kind of the color science or the way to remember the correlation between the various colors.
One other thing too, if you look at the controls down over here in the three-way, if you want to warm up the image, you just take the control towards the warm side, just like you were saying, Steve. I mean, this right there as we're going up in that particular area the same way.
If you've got image and this white balance to blue, you're seeing a lot of blue in the highlights. You drag the highlight controller away from the color that you want to get rid of, and that's how you get rid of it. So anyhow, that's a little bit about secondaries and the application of secondaries. And the next thing we'll talk about is the application of nodes.